Hi everyone, I'm Jabid. I'm the Artistic Director of BlackFest. Today I'm gathered with Rebecca Loy, Joe Taylor and Amique, and we're going to be talking about the BlackFest Does Winterfest event in loving memory of Naomi Loy for Sickle Cell. I'm going to ask each person to introduce themselves. I hope you find this podcast informative and come to the event and get behind the cause. So Rebecca, please can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Loy. I'm the sister of Naomi Loy, who this event is remembering and honouring.
Hi, I'm Joe Taylor. I'm a spoken word artist and I'm just here to kind of input on the conversation of Sickle Cell.
I make music under the name Amique, and I'm just here to support the Loy family and to support BlackFest any way I can.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Right, so Rebecca, why is this cause really important to you, particularly Sickle Cell? And we'd love to hear a bit more about Naomi and the journey that has got us to this point.
So the cause is important to me, and the reason why I came to you and wanted to do the event is because my sister passed away this year due to having sickle cell thalassemia, and she was only 35 years of age. She's left behind a 17-year-old, now 18-year-old son, and she was just far too young to pass away. She was full of life, and on the days when she wasn't being affected by sickle cell, she was healthy and well. But the issue with sickle cell is that it will just come for you one day and will turn you from a healthy person into an extremely debilitated person. And this time when it came for her, that was the end. And the reason why I wanted to do this event and to promote awareness for sickle cell is because I don't want anyone to go through or to suffer what my sister suffered, and I don't want anybody to go through or suffer what my family is suffering now. I believe that with more awareness, with more research, the sickle cell, as we understand it and as it's treated, can change. There's just been some breakthroughs recently, and that's the first major breakthrough in 20 years. And while it's amazing, at the same time, it's been 20 years since there's been any breakthrough. That's a long time. So to me, that says that we can do a lot more research, a lot more development into our understanding of this area, so that people in this country don't have to die at 35.
And coming to you, Joe, then, what would you say that inspired you to be here today to kind of come into the conversation?
I thought it was just important to be a part of the conversation, to help inform people, to get themselves tested, or the children, and be aware of what sickle cell disease is. I mean, I've known for a long time what sickle cell disease is, but I didn't know that I was a carrier of it until recently when my daughter got tested, and she was shown for carrying for having sickle cell trait, and I was already a little bit cautious or wary, or I was already a bit aware that you need to get your children tested for genetic disorders and things like that, because my partner, she also has a genetic disorder on her side of the family, which is called Addison's disease, and it gets passed on to the females carry it and the males suffer with it. So essentially it's a faulty X chromosome. And I don't want to take away from the conversation of sickle cell. I just want to point out that because of that, we were very wary, we were always scared, to be honest, of whether he would carry it, whether he would suffer with it, and what the effects would be. So after we'd had him, it was really important for us, to test my daughter. And then that's when we found out about sickle cell.
How How did you feel when you found out that you had sickle cell and that your daughter had it as well?
I felt a bit sad, to be honest. I felt like I'd done something to her, like, and now she would have to be wary going forward, you know, about like her partner in life and whether she would pass it on to her children, or whether if she got with a partner who also had sickle cell trait, whether they had a child with sickle cell disease and what that would mean for their child and for them going forward. But then obviously I don't know why I felt like that, because number one, it's not like I've done anything wrong. Number two, it's not like there's anything wrong with me. It's genetic, you know, we don't have any control over that.
Precisely. It's probably a good moment to sort of say what sickle cell is for anybody who's wondering what it is. So I don't feel like I'm the queen of understanding when it comes to sickle cell, so you might want to just jump in and tell me where I'm getting it wrong. But sickle cell disease is a blood disorder that is carried genetically, and it affects the shape of your blood cells. It affects like the oxygen in your blood cells. If you've got full-blown sickle cell, which is if two parents have got the trait, 1 in 4 of your children will probably end up with full-blown sickle cell. And that can, you can have these extreme pain crises. What happens to my sister is that eventually you lose your spleen, then you haven't got as much immunity to diseases, and your organs have just had so much attacking over the years because of these different crises that your body can just go into shutdown kind of vibe. You're affected, you can get really sick in cold weather, that can really make you turn and have a crisis. The main thing is the crisis, but a lot of people live on iron, a lot of people live, we've got a lot more sort of things to cover over the symptoms than we do have prevention of symptoms, which is probably the main thing that we want to change in the future.
Yeah.
Also, I'd just say that my sister, she was treated with blood cancer. Nurses used to treat my sister, so that's the kind of level of severity. Is that it's the blood cancer nurses who are the best people to treat people with sickle cell. Just to put a little segue in as well, in my family there's also thalassemia, which is also another big issue. And thalassemia, it mainly affects the Asian community and the Mediterranean community. And when those two come together, sickle cell thalassemia, which is what my sister had, it can be really, really rough. People who've got traits, you can have alpha trait or beta trait. I've got thalassemia beta. I don't really have many issues, but if I was to have a child with someone who also have thalassemia, they wouldn't have barely any immunity, because you don't produce enough white blood cells. I don't produce enough blood cells for the month. That's what thalassemia beta does. But you don't have enough white blood cells, and it's a bit like, you know, when people have full-blown AIDS, and it's like you can't fight off diseases. That's what thalassemia can do if you get the full-blown. So it's really important to get checked out. And it's not only a BME community thing, because I've got cousins who look white, who have the same Chinese grandfather as me, who I got it from. So you can be with somebody who looks white and ends up with thalassemia, or you can be with somebody who looks white and ends up with sickle cell. So it's really important that everyone gets tested.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, it's like in your red blood cells, they're like disc shaped, and inside it is the hemoglobin, which is what carries the oxygen around your body. But in sickle cell, that's essentially what happens. The hemoglobin, it goes hard and it forms into a sickle cell shape, which then means that it gets blocked in your blood vessels, which then can, like you said, causes the chronic pains and all the rest of it. But then, because those blood cells don't last as long and they die, your body, your kidneys, I think it is, then triggers, you know, your bone marrow to start producing more blood, which then causes the anemia and causes more problems, and it's just a knock-on cycle, and the effects are just so life destroying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that she has to go through that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, like, it's it's the pain. Like, she said it was like thousands of nails being hammered into her body all at once. That's how she described the pain. And when she was in crisis, and she was like this happy, I don't want to start saying like, kind of stereotypical things, but she was a happy person. She was a good person. She was full of life, and she was a strong person as well. Like, my girl played rugby and she killed it. She was that person who, she's not waiting for somebody to do the DIY for her. She'll learn how to put up wallpaper. Anything she wanted to get done, she'd find a way to get it done. She was really, really sort of independent, artistic, innovative. She just loved gardening and being in her allotment. She just lived life as much as she could to the full, and she'd be getting along and going forward, and then this would just come and pull her back. Do you know what I mean? And she's playing rugby and she's killing it. No more rugby, because now I've got no spleen and I've got to spend 6 months recovering from that. Or you're moving forward, this. And it's like, she was so intelligent and she was so brilliant, but it's so frustrating because you could see the wear and tear on your mental health of, every time. It's like literally the whole 2 steps forward, 1 step back,
How old was she when she found out?
So we found out, and again, another reason for getting tested, so we didn't find out until after she was born, maybe like 2. I think she had Septicemia. So she nearly died when she was like 2. And there's been loads of occasions where we've gone, she nearly died. We didn't know my dad had thalassemia. We knew my mum had sickle cell, but again, my dad is a really light-skinned mixed race person, and we didn't think, because he's quarter black, and my mum just assumed he wouldn't have it because he's quarter, and so, and he didn't have sickle cell. He had thalassemia because he's quarter Chinese as well. So, yeah, we didn't. I don't think they knew about thalassemia. I didn't even think my dad knew about it. So we found out after she was born.
And then, was she just managing it throughout her life?
Yeah. I feel like she lived on folic acid. She lived on iron tablets. There were certain things she'd have to do every day. And there were certain things where she like, she's always meant to wrap up warm sometimes. She'd be like, what Naomi was like, Amique, you knew her well. She's not really going to follow all the rules, so I'm not wearing that coat, I'm fine, all that kind of stuff. But I think also it took till she was about 30ish. I can't remember the exact time, but late 20s maybe, before she had like an assigned specialist who was sort of like, this is the way you should be approaching life. Someone who really knew what sickle cell was, and who was able to say, this is how you should be approaching life. You need to have a hospital bag packed and ready to go, so that at any moment you can just pick that up and get to the hospital. You need to not wait until the pain gets so bad to think, okay, this is a hospital situation. You need to go the minute you feel any pain. Like, all these things, even things like, I told the story with Jubs the other day, like when we all, so the time when we're having this, the gig, the same time last year, literally a year ago to the day, we were all celebrating her 35th birthday, and we were in the Lake District, and the weather turned bad enough when we were during a walk, because Naomi loved hiking, she loved walking. The weather turned bad and it turned into a sickle cell crisis, and so we had all the heating on in the house. We took everybody's duvet and wrapped it around her, because you've got to make them as warm as possible. So she's covered in millions of blankets. And I'm like, what number is it? And she's got hot water bottles, everything. And she's going through the numbers. It's a 4, it's a 5, it's a 5, it's a 6. And we had to make this decision. And I remember I'm saying she's in pain where she feels like nails are being hammered into her bones. And we make the decision that it's safer to take her 2 hours back to Liverpool, where the specialists are, than to take her to the local hospital, because we know they'll say, what's wrong with her, what's this, she's gonna have to wait in A&E.
Yeah, they're asking you about it.
All this stuff, and this is the issue with sickle cell. Like, if you have, you know, any other kinds of situation going on, you can just go to the hospital. But with sickle cell, it's like, I can't take her to that hospital, even though she's having a severely, like, life-threatening situation going on. It was safer to drive her back to Liverpool, and we had to, you know, we had to carry her and do our best to get her in the car. And it was mad, you know, because I had the car blasting that hot. She's wrapped in all these towels, and I'm literally just driving in my sports bra because I'm that boiling hot, and she's wrapped in everything, and I had to just speed it back to Liverpool. But the hair specialist did things like make sure that we have sort of like a letter to the A&E doctor. So when we go into A&E, he sees exactly what's wrong with her, exactly what she needs straight away, so that she can get the medication that she requires, because they can't believe how much morphine you need. Like, she needs a lot of morphine straight away.
Yeah.
You know? And so having him there, it helped sort out a lot of the symptomatic things.
Yeah, I've seen people with sickle cell disease who've mentioned, you know, about when they go in with chronic pain and stuff like that, and the doctors think that the pain medic addicts, you know what I mean, trying to get painkillers because of how much they're dying out for it. And it takes time before that information gets to the doctors, before they can get the pain medication, and it shouldn't be that way, you know, in terms of information and how widespread this advice is, and how known it is, the disease. The better it'll be for everyone, do you know what I mean? The more research, the more development, like you were saying, in terms of treatments, cures, or whatever. I mean, for me, I was going to say, like, the first time I ever heard about the sickle cell disease was, you know, through the Black Panthers. I remember I was doing, like, research on the Black Panthers and stuff like that, and it came up about, you know, the social welfare movements that they used to do, in terms of, like, they had free schools, free school meals for kids, but one of the biggest things that they did was sickle cell screening. Like, they were the first organisation in America, but at the same time, America became the first country in the world to have nationwide screening in place for sickle cell disease because of the Black Panther movement. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I was just wondering, like, where you might have first heard about it, or...
Well, I think, not to divert from your question, but I think this raises a really important topic and discussion around privilege, because I think as a white person, I think it's so important that I, as a white person, and the other white people lock into the importance of this discussion, because just we know that, you know, as a white person, I'm able to move through society and experience a lot of privilege, and kind of, it's easy for me to avoid a lot of these conversations, and I want to try and be of service wherever I can, and this ties into the performance next week and whatnot. But it just strikes me that there's such an imbalance when it comes to, on every level of what you're talking about here, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to the amount of money that's put into research, and the funding element, and so. So yeah, I think that's just kind of what it brings up in me. I think I've still got a lot of way to go in terms of education about this, and I definitely want to understand more. But I think it's probably through our friendship and through Naomi's experience that I probably picked up whatever it is I do know about it. And it's so interesting when you talk about it, because I knew how much she was going through what David had told me, and through yourself, and through Hayley, but the spirit and the energy that she possessed was on. I was thinking about this the other day, about how it's probably only a handful of times that I really got time just with her, and it was kind of like 6 or 7 people energy wise in one, and it was like almost overwhelming, but in the most incredible way. And So I think it's in these kinds of discussions, but I think it's just really important that where there are people within society experiencing privileges, you know, in my case as a white person, it's really important that we're listening and getting out the way and getting involved when we have to get involved. And so that's kind of, that's something that I'm just trying to, like I say, get out the way when I need to get out the way and get involved when I need to get involved, and be as present and try to serve as much as possible and wherever I can. And like I say, I think most of that's a really long way of saying that. I think my education mostly came through our relationship, but even sitting here, I'm aware that, Christ, I need to go away and really do more research about this, and hopefully this event can help encourage that on throughout society, you know, throughout the community, hopefully.
I weren't trying to like pull a black powder grenade and throw it on you there.
No, but it's really important.
I just want to clap us to, like, obviously I do want to raise the fact it does affect like Black and African communities a lot, but I'm going to talk about like how you were saying on the live that people are like integrating and stuff like that. It is important to everyone to be aware of it.
I just wanted to make that clear that it's more so a thing of, even with regards to healthcare and just the science behind this and the funding, it's just something that of course I'm not implying that it's just a black person's illness or whatnot, but it's just we've got to get used to acknowledging that and talking about it.
And you need to be honest about the disparity.
Lean into that. I love that when you said I was going to lean into it.
Okay. But no, because I love that you mentioned, because I think that's really important. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons I'm doing the gig at all, because it's just like, Christ, we need to step up.
It's just the reason I said that is because obviously, like what you just touched on, there is a large disparity in terms of like who it afflicts. So I was just presuming that you're not a sickle cell carrier and that you may not have many sickle cell.
No, of course. And this is what I mean. And I wonder how much of that, even on a subconscious level, would I, you know, were it not for this conversation, would I just in the back of my mind assume that I would just never need to because of stereotypical perceptions? You know what I mean?
What you're saying, Amique, as well is so important. Not just like the disparity, but I think even within our own community, we don't realise how we don't have enough education on it. Like, I can't sit here and say I know exactly, you know, what it does. I know the severity of it. Like, I think the severity of it kicked in. It's those traumatic incidences when I've been in the hospital with Nye, where I'm like, geez, this is something serious. But I don't think I really fully grasped the severity of it, especially because she was so strong. And the thing is, why we need to have this conversation is because even within the communities of, you know, the people who are affected by it most, we don't necessarily understand. You know, if I say cancer, it's like it produces a particular emotion because, you know, it's serious. Yeah. So if someone says to you, I've got cancer, you go, shh, I don't know if I can swear, right? If someone says to you, I've got sickle cell, like, oh, what's that? And I'm saying, I could say that to anybody of any ethnicity and it would be oh, what's that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we all need more education on it as far as I'm concerned, because we need to grasp that severity.
Yeah.
And I love the way you're just talking about your intentionality with it. I was sharing with Jubs the other day about a lady who got in contact with me because I've been posting so much about sickle cell. She's a white lady who's got mixed race children, and she said, my kid's been sick for years. After looking at your posts, I've gone and looked up the symptoms and think that's what my kid's got, and I'm going to get him tested. When she'd gone to the doctors and asked for a test, and the doctor was like, oh, fobbing her off. But because of the posts that she'd seen from me, and she thought, wait there, they don't necessarily know. And so she was able to push and say, no, get my son a test, get my kids tested. And so she's going to have a solution to know if that's what it is. But so all I'm saying is there's a lot of people, as you're talking about privilege, actually, if you adopt outside of your race, or if you have children outside of your race, you've got to consider these things. And so it's an everybody issue.
It's an everybody issue. And like, obviously with the NHS and stuff, when I found about at the moment I found out about sickle cell, was I went to the Cumbernauld Millennium Centre, and I've spoken to you about this. And there was a lady on the blood unit to give more blood, and she was just like, sickle cell affects a lot of Black and African Caribbean communities, but there's not enough information about it. And even the NHS does say it does predominantly, it's more in the Black and brown communities, predominantly in the African and Black communities. But like you said as well, people are mixing and stuff like that, and I think it's important that we do find out more information is available to support those that I just don't know, just not aware, and having children with, or even having a relationship or a partner that is of a different ethnicity or of melanin, and again, like you said, we can't really point it down to just it affects melanin. So again, if that means that needs to be adjusted even on the NHS to say like, we need to update the NHS website to say like it can affect, you know, interracial marriages and things like that, and so that people are actually a bit more aware of the disease itself, and then can get their children tested and stuff like that. Like in Liverpool particularly, we're in a port city.
Precisely.
We're in a port city, so it's like everyone's pretty much quite, you know, kind of, you know, mixed and stuff like that. So I think for me, it's like, it's definitely something that everybody, the wider community, we should be breaking barriers down to definitely find out a little bit more and raise more awareness, like you said. And it was really nice and honest of you, Amique, to say like, I've got privilege and I should, and it might not feel like it's something that affects me, but you know, like you said, it could. I mean, you've never been tested, you don't know. So
I think to tap into that again though, I think it's also the foundation of these kinds of conversations just can lead to bigger conversations around healthcare and around funding, and I think that's maybe where some of the I don't feel educated enough to say, but that's where a lot of the disparities probably come in as well. And so I think it's just that thing of engagement and sort of whether it can affect everyone, of course, as you say, but also adopting the mentality of, even if it doesn't, that it's your fellow human being, you know what I mean? We need to be prepared to get more involved where we can. I think that's maybe what I was trying to
100. And I just wanted to go back to both your points actually, because just on the point that you said, if you look at me, you wouldn't put me and Chinese together. I don't think I'm Chinese presenting at all, right? But I have thalassemia from my Chinese great grandfather. So what I'm saying is, you don't need to present as the race where is most affected by this thing or the ethnicity for it to be, you know, in your DNA.
That's it, it's genetics, innit?
It's just genetics. So if you've got a great grandfather from here or there, you can be carrying something, and that's just what it is.
But that's where like both your points are really important there. The first one being like, it's so important to get tested, not just you but your children, stuff like that, because then in the future going forward, you can kind of have those open and honest conversations with your partner and know whether they've been tested for any genetic conditions as well, and by having children, what those probabilities and chances are that your children may be afflicted by certain things as well. And it's not to say that you shouldn't have children together, but it's about knowing and being informed, so that your children's not growing up and you're 5-6 years in and your child's dead sick and you're taking them to the doctor and the doctor doesn't really know. We all need to know, do you know what I mean? And then
empowering ourselves through knowledge, right?
That's it. And then there's another really important point there, which is about like blood donation. You know, by educating each other, we can educate people, especially within the Black community, to go out there and donate blood that a lot of sickle cell disease sufferers really need. You know what I mean?
And I think what you were talking about as well, it was about, and what you're talking about as well, is being intentional about our healthcare. And I think there's a lot of, and I think in many ways we are intentional about our healthcare, but we're not specifically saying, okay, well, what is the healthcare conditions that may particularly affect me and the people around me? Because we might say, well, I eat good, I don't have too much sugar because of diabetes, or I don't drink too much, or I don't smoke too much, or whatever it is, and you're thinking about the major things that affect society. But actually, Are we being intentional about the healthcare of our local community? Are we going to get blood to give blood for our local community? Is it normal to be on a date with someone and say, so, do you know what I mean? So, do you have sickle cell? Do you have thalassemia? Have you been checked for either or? Because it should be a normal conversation.
Maybe not the first date, like
stigmatized. We need to think about it though. When do you bring that into your date?
When is the perfect time? Then? Or is there a perfect time? Really?
I sneak it in within the first month. I do.
Yeah, I think it's sensible to be honest, because you want to get too far and it's like it's a bit like...
Yeah, for real. So maybe we can ask Amique. You're going to be singing for us at Winterfest. What's your vibe? What makes you want to sing? Tell us about you as an artist.
Well, you asked me, and I just, if anyone from the Lloyd family asks me to do anything, I'll do it, because, I mean, that sounds really corny, and it is really corny. I'm sorry, but it's also really. I know it is, but
We've reclaimed corny though, haven't we?
I'm a gay man. I can get away with it. But yeah. So yeah, I feel like we have a very familial relationship, and yeah. So I mean, my main reason for doing it is just because, well, I'd probably be somewhere singing anyway, so you might as well put me on a stage and put a light on me and get something, you know what I mean, get something out of it. But yeah, the thing I was saying to you before about how we had everyone round a few weeks ago, we were in the kitchen, round the kitchen table, and it got to like 1:30, 2 in the morning, and then everyone had a request, and Aretha started playing, and some Prince and some Stevie Wonder, and out of the whole night was great, but out of the night there was something about that moment where we were all like, Tosin was over this shoulder and Hayley was over this shoulder, and you were there, and David was, there was just something about us being centered around this tiny little screen and listening to music at 1:30, 2 in the morning that just, it just did my soul so much good. So I'm very, very blessed to have Tosin come and play with me on Saturday, and he's, for those who don't know, he's a fabulous guitar player, singer-songwriter, and he's going to come and join me, and I just want to try and recreate the vibe that we had in the kitchen a few weeks ago, and just keep everything nice and mellow, and it's going to be an acoustic set. So yeah, I think one thing that came to mind a few months ago when Hayley and I played after Naomi passed was how I remember Hayley and I saying this, like, the best we can do is just try to give people a couple of minutes of something else. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a scientist. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not a doctor. But it's kind of working out what you can do and how you can do it. And so it's kind of my perspective with next Saturday is, my hope is just that even for half an hour we can just, which I think music has the power to do, we can just take you somewhere and just lower everyone's blood pressure a little bit, and just take everyone somewhere else, and hopefully that somewhere else will be something, you know, somewhere really peaceful and positive and cool, just for half an hour. And you know, and I that's all I know how to do, and hopefully that's what we'll be able to do. And if that's of some use, then let's make a habit of it, and I'll come back another week and do another. You know what I mean?
I love it. Like, just if it's not clear, Amique actually sang with Hayley, who'll be hosting on a nice Hayley Kincaid. They both sang at Naomi's funeral service.
Oh.
And that's why I'm really blessed that he's doing this event, because he is a family friend, and he just happens to be, like, I literally say, I know he's my friend, but I'm like, not even a low-key fan. I like say things like, I love you underneath his videos, like, oh my god, and I fan out because this guy's voice, I've never heard anything like it.
So, Amique, as you know, you'll be performing at BlackFest or Winterfest in memory of Naomi Lloyd for Sickle Cell. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist? Just a bit about your journey and your art.
Well, I don't really remember a specific beginning when it comes to music making, but I usually tell people that I have this memory of opening. It's gonna sound really weird. The inside of my mum's washing machine had this really cool reverb, and I still to this day maintain that there's something about the inner drum of a washing machine with all the holes poked in, and I just have this memory of being 3 or 4 years old with my head in the washing machine singing away and thinking it was the coolest thing in the world.
This is so Freudian, by the way.
Oh, listen, we don't even need to get started on that, trust me. But I just think music has always been, it seems like an understatement to say it's an important part of my life, because it is my life. And regarding the journey, I just make music. I make a lot of it. I try to share it with people and hope people will like it too.
What are your instruments, to me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your sound? What's your vibe?
Your voice.
I mean, in terms of the sound, I'm very much influenced by jazz and R&B, and I grew up loving Prince and D'Angelo and Erykah Badu, and I love Joni Mitchell and Kate Bush, and I just try to be as open to as much as possible. And so what was the other question about instruments? Oh, just anything I can get a half decent, anything I can blag my way through, I'll blag my way through it. So I don't really like to give a number, because if I say I play piano, I know a lot of piano players that will absolutely play me under the table. So I just say anything that I can get a half decent sound out of, and anything that can serve the idea, I'll play until someone takes it off me.
But to be fair to him, he plays a lot of people under the table as well.
Yeah. I wish.
And we can't wait. And what about you, Joe? Just introduce yourself, and like what you do, and you yourself as an artist, and particularly like obviously art. It's so powerful, isn't it? And like, how do you use that, and what ways can we use art, particularly raising awareness for something like this, which is like sickle cell?
Yeah, so I mean, I work with young people, and I feel like they're kind of the most impressionable, you know what I mean, to be able to sort of mould a better future in terms of instead of trying to change old dogs' ways. But you know, you said something before which was like really interesting about, you know, just being able to, just by you being able to come to the event and perform, by having your music there, that can just draw people into something that is going to spread an even bigger message, you know what I mean? And it's so important how like art can, or music, I love music, but how art, you know, can do that. So yeah, I don't know whether
Nina Simone, there's a great clip of Nina Simone speaking in, I think, the 70s, it might be in the 60s, and she talks about how an artist's job is to reflect the times that they're living in. So she was kind of saying, I imagine the question that had been something along the lines of, why is so much of your music political, or something like that. And her response was, she was almost incredulous at the idea of, why wouldn't I speak about these things? Like, that's what the artist's job is. And I think in the as soon as it became big business in music, and as soon as the 80s came in, and suddenly everyone had a Mercedes, and and suddenly people were selling millions of records, and lots of executives were getting really rich, and the artists were still not getting rich. The perception changed, but like with you talking about the Black Panthers before, there was a period then where music and society and art and everything kind of interlinked, and I in the back of my mind always just think, you know, events like this can just bring that, just at least bring that conversation back, that there's a place for everything, and we all like to party, and the club's a great place to be too, but there's also a whole lot else going on, and if we can just inspire that conversation, because I think as artists, that's, I don't want to undersell anyone, but I think that's the most you can do as an artist, is just kind of go, well, there's this going on too, and then the rest is up to all of us as a society. But if we can just kind of get the ball rolling, and I think that was an especially effective time for that going on when you talk about the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
And
no, definitely. But I mean, for me, I feel like it's more than just art. You know, if you look at the past year with everything that's been going on, and Marcus Rashford using his platform to be able to force politicians to enact positive change, to bring communities closer together and help each other and create more hubs that provide services for people who really need it, which is similar to what you were saying about the Black Panthers, you know what I mean? This is what proper socialism looks like, where we're all helping each other, but we're also forcing the people who have the power to make even greater change do that as well.
Yeah, that's a beautiful idea, and I just feel like we have an opportunity, don't we?
Yeah.
And thinking about what BlackFest does, and you know, it's just beautiful that, you know, I'll just say, like, I've said out loud a few times, I want to do something about sickle cell. And when I said it out loud to Jubs was like, right, let's go. And it's a beautiful thing, because not everybody says, as I said, I've said it out loud a few times. It's not everyone, some people will go, oh, cool. Do you know what I mean? But Jubs is the type of person who said, let's go. And she's come with all her resources, all her energy, all her intelligence, and everything she's got to give, and has just thrown it at making this thing happen.
Thank you so
You
much,
know?
Rebecca.
And I've just got so much appreciation for Jubs, because, you know, I want to do this event, but, you know, I'm not necessarily versed in event planning, art, performers. I don't know all this stuff, but here I've got Jubs just like carrying me through. Being like, come on, let's do this. And it's like a beautiful bit of sisterhood going on here, and it's just wonderful that we've got something like BlackFest creatives in our community. And I just wanted to just come to you, Jubs, and say, why is this important to you? Why do you do these types of events? Why do you want to get involved?
I think it's really, really important that, obviously, like you said, what are we doing for our community locally and stuff like that, and even nationally. When I read up about sickle cell, when I went to that journey in Cumberamani, that memory never left me. I was like, why did that memory stay with me? You know, there must have been a reason, and I felt like I met you. It was all kind of destiny for me. It was like, you know, you have spiritual alignments with people, and for me it was like a spiritual alignment. And obviously through the celebration night, when you guys first did the Waver Tree community choir, you know, just seeing the happiness in people's faces, and like you were saying, like what music has the power to do, and gospel music as well, like lifting the spirit. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? Just like as how it brings people together and how it breaks barriers. And it's like, for me, that's just so special. You can't buy joy, you can't buy like happiness, and you can't, and the good things in life are sometimes free. And you know, giving your time, giving yourself for free sometimes, and like just showing kindness is a big thing for me, definitely. But more, and this particularly with sickle cell, even when me and you were conversating, Joe, and you said the Black Panthers had, you know, did so much, and they had like centers set up, like, and you just like drew this picture for me, and I was like, wow. Like, why don't we have more centres? Why don't we have more test centres? Why our community's not getting tested? Why, like, Liverpool's got the oldest black community as well in the city, and I'm like you just painted this picture, like we should be like, this is real activism, this, like we should be really saving people's lives. Like what happened to Naomi, like to lose a sister and a sibling at that young age with so much life. I can't imagine what you've gone through, Rebecca. I really can't. And it's like, for me, if us doing this event raises that bar, raises that awareness, and more people are getting tested, and it brings a wider conversation, and more communities are being aware of sickle cell, we've done a good job to humanity. Like, I feel like it's like a social responsibility, and making those connections with each other. And we've gone through this global pandemic, you know, and it's like, it's just brought so much to the surface, and it's just been so much for a lot of people, and we're fighting so many invisible battles, and anything I can do to support artists, communities, just to kind of minimize that, absolutely, I think I'm here for it. And yeah, definitely I'm here for you, and I'm just grateful for our sisterhood. And you know, like just going towards the retreat, I felt like, you know, just grounding ourselves, connecting to the earth again, those kind of also things like what we're waking up to in terms of COVID, how we heal ourselves, how we like kind of ground ourselves to Mother Earth. And it sounds like from what you're telling me about Naomi,
Oh,
which was
that was her life.
Very grounding,
yes.
very like, you know, kind of really in touch with nature, and kind of really seeing that our because we're like human body with different dimensions, and like our connection with the soil and all that is important, and each other. And especially the retreat, it was really about connecting with each other. And obviously I know that was a really, really tough period for you as well, and it just I don't know, it was just like destiny connecting
Literally,
the dots,
right
wasn't it?
after the funeral, we Jubs was like, do you want to go on this mental health retreat in the countryside? And it was like me, my mum, my sister, and it was like we had the funeral Friday, and then Sunday we got to just go and get away. And even just a few days after Naomi passed away, Jubs was like, do you want to go to the spa day? We're doing this thing for mental health. And just took me and my sisters away. And it's just a beautiful support that we have BlackFest creators in the community attending, not just to you know, education and performance and art, but also to our mental health. And you know, it's mad that you were talking about Naomi being grounded, because it was mad, like at the funeral, you know, you say to people like, obviously the colour we should wear, blah 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 blah, and it was like this ongoing argument between me and Naomi for years, where she was just like, I just love pink and I just love purple and green together, and I'd be like, that's disgusting. Ew, 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 purple and green. And it would just be this thing, and it would just be like a joke between us, but she loved it and I thought it was disgusting. And she'd be like, why don't you wear green with that purple? I'd be like, no. And it wasn't until, so I told people, you know, for the funeral, I was like, I literally put on my Instagram post like, her favourite colours were purple and green, do what you want to do with that. And that's literally what I wrote, isn't it? I was like, do what you want to do with that. And then I always go for walks around Sefton Park. And the mad thing is that I just noticed how many trees and all the greenery, how many flowers. And it's like, it's all purple and green.
Yeah.
Everything's purple and green. And she was, as I said, all she did was, in her spare time, was go to her garden, in the allotment or in their garden, or out hiking in nature. And I was just like, that's why she loved it. Because nature is just full of purple and green, you know?
It really is. And actually in the forest, when we did the sunset forest bathing, there was those purple flowers, do you remember?
I took pictures of it because it's purple and green.
Purple and green. It was just gorgeous in the forest. It's absolutely stunning. Like, literally. But yeah, honestly, so, I'm just grateful to be here, and like can't wait for the actual event, and keep raising the bar. I think there could be more campaigns we can do after this event. This is just the first step.
So talking about the event then, for anyone who wants to like come and celebrate and honour Naomi's memory, what's going to be happening? Who's going to be on? What can they expect? You know?
So it's an all-white party.
All white, so we're all coming all white, yeah.
But there's no stress, like, you know, if you can't find all white, we're not asking you to go find your best white outfit or anything like that.
Anything. Like, if you've only got like a white shirt, just, you know, it's all good.
It's all good.
But if you've got all white,
brilliant.
Feel free.
Yeah. And
the reason for the all white
is
because, as we said, winter's the worst time of year for people with sickle cell. So we wanted to just represent winter. Also, it's kind of beautiful and wintry, right? All, you know, a winter night right near Christmas and we're all in white. But it is to represent the suffering of sickle cell.
So it does have significance in terms of symbolically the white. I think I should put that on the platform though a little bit, maybe, just to raise a bit more of awareness. But yeah, and we've got the lovely Shakoma, Ramey, I Am Kayami, Nee Maxine, and it's like all jazzy. We've got lovely Amique, We've got DJ Shanice as well. She's doing some lovely kind of DJing at the end for us. We've got Ray Ray's Caribbean truck coming to feed us. Ray Ray's at District as well. Again, another local venue. You know, we want to support that venue as well. And yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anyone. But yeah, it's going to be good. And in terms of Rebecca's fundraising page, guys, you can find it on her Instagram. It will be, by the time this goes out, it'll be fine.
By the time this goes out, my Instagram will be public.
It'll be public. So please, if you can't make the event, you can always give to Rebecca's GoFundMe. Yeah. It's not going to end in December at the event. It's an ongoing thing. And you can donate a ticket via, like, obviously donating to Rebecca's GoFundMe page. And obviously please come, as many of you can come to the event and actually commemorate Naomi's memory. There'll be some talks as well from her healthcare providers.
So it was the specialist Andy Horton. So he's the specialist in our city on sickle cell. So we've got the best coming to give us some awareness of sickle cell. We're going to speak about it far better than
I think you guys have all done fab.
And we're also going to have some raffle prizes. We've got some amazing prizes. As we said, we've got, giveaways like afternoon tea for two from Oh Me Oh My, them rooftop vibes, or well, maybe not in this weather. But we've also got bespoke cake being made. If you're on Instagram, if you go at the best flavors and see their bespoke cakes, they're incredible. So we've got
it's going to be purple and green, by the way.
Oh, do you know what I said? I asked her, I just said to her, do what you want to do, because she's such a creative, and I just want her to just do her thing. She's such a creative. We've also got, so if you know my sister, if you follow her on TikTok, Zafrica on TikTok, she's got like, I think about 60,000 followers for her art page, because she's an incredible artist. So she's going to donate a portrait of the winner's choice. So if you want yourself or your family or the cat, she will do whatever portrait you like. She's donating that to us. Nice. We've also got some vouchers and from the Grapes pub as well. We all know their Sunday jazz night at the Grapes. So there's a lot of things going on in terms of the prizes we can win. But one of the things I wanted to say as well is coming is activism. You buy a ticket and you come and spend the evening being entertained by amazing artists, and you're partaking in activism.
It is, it really is. And I was also going to say, like, it's activism and the thoughts gone out my head.
And that's Saturday the 18th.
Saturday the 18th at District. 7 p.m, 7 till 11. Get your lateral flow test and be negative, and you can come.
And then in terms of the GoFundMe page, do you just want to say like what that is, what it supports?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's so the money raised is going to go to the local hemoglobin unit in the Royal, and also it's going to go to a national sickle cell charity. And we may even give it to some smaller charities that are in Liverpool, and also maybe even create more campaigns. And there's hope for the future that there's going to be more bigger work, even from Rebecca herself and things like that. And we're looking at other ways we can really raise the bar of, awareness for this.
Yeah, so my current aim is to raise £5,000. That's what the aim is at the moment. And so at the moment, it started already. I'm nearing my first 1,000. I'm quite happy, so I might have to raise the bar. But in the new year, if you don't know, I'm a long COVID sufferer, and I'm getting over long COVID, so I'm incorporating that into my journey and like what you can do despite the long COVID. We're going to do the 3 peaks, which my sister always wanted to do. There might be a triathlon or a half marathon or maybe even a full marathon. Like I'm a fitness, like I'm into all that, so I'm going to push myself and things like that. And we're going to think of just about any other way we can fundraise to raise this money. And as we said, the research that was done by the All Government Parliamentary Party alongside the National Sickle Cell Association, or National Sickle Cell Society, I should say. They done this research and partnership that found out that too many people are dying. It's just came out, this research, and you can find it on the Sickle Cell Society website. too many people are dying from sickle cell. There's not enough awareness in the medical community, and that a lot of people are suffering because of this lack of awareness in the medical community. So obviously they're making big steps. We want to donate to them, but then we do have local sickle cell units in the hemoglobin unit, and we do have local sickle cell charities. So all the proceeds are going to that, and we've had even district, they've been so lovely in their support that they're not asking for big money to do the event. They've gave us this they've gave us the place because they were like, that's our contribution, we want you to just make as much profit as possible and give it to sickle cell. Same with Ray, they're not trying to make no profit, and so we've got an opportunity to make a lot of profit through these ticket sales and give it all to supporting our local community and the national research and activism that's happening.
Boss.
We're the new Black Panthers in Liverpool.
Black Panthers, BlackFest.
We're going to try something.
Little something. Yeah.
And I don't know whether, do you want to like just make some final comments in terms of like, what's the message we're sending out, you know what I mean? What's the main thing that we want people to kind of latch onto from our rambles?
Well, obviously, it's going to be Christmas. We want you to come along and obviously celebrate with your family, but also remember the importance of life, the importance of connection, and the importance of like living your best life as well, like honestly, and like making each moment count and things like that. And with this particular event as well, you're doing it for a good cause and it's going somewhere really good, and you've got fabulous food and entertainment, and what best way to close your year and Christmas as well than give to this good cause.
Yeah.
I feel like what you said before, Amique, about the power of music to just create just that spiritual connection between us all, where we're all in one zone, in one place, just all aware of this powerful thing that's going on, and that's healing. Just we're all be able to experience that together. I just feel like that's such a thing, and I just love that we're able to experience that whilst raising money to support our own community. Like the whole idea is you come and it's activism. You're going to raise money for your own community to save the lives of yourself, your family members, and at the same time we get to party. Like that, it's beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just also that message of get tested, get your kids tested, demand the tests. Let's spread that awareness, because we shouldn't have people dying in 2021 when there's, you know, all these sorts of, you know, advances in medicine. We shouldn't have people dying at the age of 35 in 2021, you know. We can do something to create that change.
Yeah, definitely.
Be a part of the change, everybody.
Yeah, get tested, be informed, feel comfortable about being open and honest about having the conversation with your partner, friends, in the work, whatever it is. Donate blood if you can, as much as you can, you know what I mean? And it's not just sickle cell disease. We're trying to highlight sickle cell disease in this, but you know, there's so many other genetic disorders out there that you can also be informed about and be aware of as well. So yeah, just try to be aware, isn't it?
Who here has been tested for sickle cell disease?
Me.
Not me.
50%, man. You're in the room.
You're in the room.
So you know, that's just the thing. Also, who here is thinking about giving blood, maybe as their New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
You get me? Let's make the change. Simple things and be the change.
And you? What about you? Any final thoughts, comments?
No, not really. I don't think there's much I can add, except that just to re-emphasise that I think what you said before about how this is activism. I think when we look at, I think some of the stuff that goes on in the world can feel quite overwhelming, and I think a lot of us have felt that the past year and a half, and there is something about being in the same space at the same time, and standing for one another or partying for one another, as the case will be next Saturday, and doing it for a really important cause. There's something about that that's quite profound, and I just think it's a great opportunity to, I mean, the conversation has already been started, obviously, but it's a great opportunity to continue that conversation. And again, just credit to you guys for the work that you've done, because, you know, I think the level of effort that's required and the work that's required with this stuff is huge, and I really understand that. And I think, Becky, to take the grief that you've experienced and I mean, it's been an unbelievable year, and to kind of plant this seed with it, I think you'll absolutely see fabulous things come of it. And it just goes without saying that Naomi is beyond proud of what's going on, and it's an incredible legacy for her life, and the life that she continues to lead through these conversations and through these through the spirit that comes through in the room when you get talking about this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah, the all credit to you for persevering and doing this. And yeah, I just think it's a great opportunity to make that contribution spiritually and physically, to be in that space and to be a part of the conversation.